This is Miss Fazone, and this is pre-calculus, graphing exponentials and logarithms. Alright, so let's do a review of graphing our exponential. So this is what we were working on. Right? We started with our asymptote, and it's always a horizontal asymptote. So HA is y equals what? 3. Remember, an exponential will not cross, the base will not cross the 0. So 0 plus 3 is 3. And what's our starting point? I always like a starting point to count from. Change the sign next to the x. Minus 1, make it plus 1. And 3. Again, the reason we do that is 1 minus 1 is 0. What will make the exponent 0? Okay. This is not on the graph. This point is not on the graph. It's what we count from. Okay. Now, our shift of our parent function over up. What's the parent function here? What's the parent function? What number have we not used? 2. 2 to the x. Right? So we're basing this on 2 to the x. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. Plug 0 in. What's 2 to the 0? 1. 2 to the first, 2. 2 to the second, 4. 2 to the third, 8. All right? So using all that information, we're going to graph this. So I'm going to start with my horizontal asymptote, up 3. 1, 2, 3. I want to see this dotted line. And please make it dotted. It's the fact that it's dotted makes we know that it's a horizontal asymptote. Okay. Starting point is 1, 3. That starting point is always on your asymptote. Right? It's where we're counting from. So from this point, we're going to count this. Over 0, up 1. So it's just up 1. Over 1, up 2. Back to the starting point. Over 2, up 4. Back to the starting point. Over 3, up 8. So we're a little bit off the graph. We go up. So that's just half the graph. What's the other half look like? Remember, we have an asymptote. It comes down and it goes nice and close, but it cannot cross it. Right? Exponentials, you'll never get negatives, right? The closest thing you can get is a 0. You get close to 0, you never cross it. 0 plus 3 is 3. Right? Because when you plug a negative number into an exponent, you don't get a negative, you get a decimal. All right. So now we're going to go and we're going to talk about the natural exponential function. The natural exponential function is called e. Right? E is an irrational number. It's an irrational number, kind of like pi, and it's approximately 2.718. Right? I gave you a bunch of decimals. Usually we use the first 3. Right? 2.718. Kind of like pi is 3.14. Same idea. Okay? So this is a really common graph to make. All right? So look at y equals e to the x. What is our horizontal asymptote here? 0. Y equals 0, right? There's no number being added. What's our starting point? 0, 0. Now, if I plug in 0, 1, 2, 3. What's e to the 0? 1. What's e to the first? E to the first is just e, which is approximately 2.718. What's e squared? I don't know, some nasty number. E to the third? I don't know, some number that I don't want to figure out. So notice that e has a bunch of numbers that we don't really like. Okay. So let's graph our horizontal asymptote. Our starting point is 0, 0. We're going 0, 1, up 1. Do we have any other nice numbers? No. So we have over 1, up almost 2.5, like there. But that's about it. Like, we don't really graph. When you graph e to the x, it's more of a sketch. It's more of a sketch because it's all these irrational numbers that we don't really want to graph. So you can estimate, but all you really need to remember is if e is this is really like 2.718 to the x. So it's somewhere between 2 to the x and 3 to the x. So you're just really plotting that one point and drawing an exponential as best you can. We're not doing anything crazy with this. All right? So we're done. That's it. All right. Next one. We're doing a sketch. All right? I'm actually going to do the sketch of e to the negative x on the side. All right. G of x equals e to the negative x. We're going to get super intense with this drawing. It's so beautiful, isn't it? All right. So what's our asymptote? Y equals 0. Right? We have our y equals 0 and our 0, 0 again. Can't really see that very well, but all right. Now, what does a negative do to a graph? A lot of kids have been putting it upside down. If you plug in 2, do you get negative 2? No. A negative exponent turns it into a fraction. What we want to do, it changes the sign of the x value. Look, you're changing the sign of the x value. So instead of going right, you go left. So our starting point here is still it's literally up 1 because g of 0 is 1. E to the 0 is 1. The fact that it's negative changed the sign of the x. E to the negative